Hey guys, I know, it's been years, right? Like 10 years. It's been a long time, but we're back. And this is not about me. I could totally go into like a therapy session with you, but it's not about me. It's totally about this book, Resolutions for Women. Super excited to share this book with you, or my thoughts about this book with you. Oh, and you know, this is more than a book review, so I'm going to be working on an art piece. I started it months ago. I'll be finishing it right here during our book review, and then I'll work in some other videos of the process before, or the process up until now on that art piece. Are you guys ready? Let's get started. So this book is written by Priscilla Shirer. She's done a couple movies. She did Overcomer, War Room. Oh, love War Room. She did I Can Only Imagine. I think she did a movie called Be Still. She's also the daughter of Dr. Tony Evans and Dr. Lois Evans. So if you've ever heard Priscilla speak, or if you haven't, definitely go on YouTube. She's just an amazing speaker. She's an amazing minister. You just need to type in Priscilla Shirer and there it is. She's just, yeah, like that. Anyway, enough about Priscilla. Let's talk about her book, Resolutions for Women. So yeah, this book is perfect for all women, but I really thought it was a book that was perfect for married women, women who want to be married, moms, women who want to be moms. But then there's like some sections in there that's perfect for those who are, let's just say, for ages. It's probably from senior year of high school and up. Basically, this is who this book is for. Also, really random, if you're like living in an apartment and you really want a house, so you don't want to decorate your apartment and you just rather wait and really decorate the house so you're not living your best life now, this book is for you. That was just how the book hit me, because I was definitely dealing with I don't want to decorate this apartment, I want to wait for my house. She touches on having satisfaction right now, but we're gonna get into that. So what you're going to find, so this piece has a lot of different materials a part of it. So I'm really just trying to figure out what I want to do, what else I want to do. I feel like it's basically done. But anyway, so what you're going to find in this book, we're going to go ahead and break that down. So I found this book to be a little hard to read. I don't really like to read unless it is for like research purposes. So I can read, oh my gosh, I can read stuff about hair all day long, stuff about skin all day long, all the beauty stuff, yeah, all day. But when it's, all right, hold on, I gotta concentrate. So I found this book a little hard to read, only because I like reading short books. And it's not that this is a long book, but it just feels like it's a long book because she has 3 main parts, and each part has subsections. It's like 4 or 5 subsections, but then those subsections have subsections. So it's a lot. And when I read, I like to feel like I'm accomplishing something. So I do, I celebrate. I'm like, oh girl, you got through a chapter. So it was a little harder to celebrate because I get through a subsection, but I'm like, oh, but you're still in part 1, girl. You haven't even made a dent yet in this book. It's okay because there's so much good content in this book. It's absolutely marvelous. Anyway, I'm trying to work and talk. As you can tell, I'm not very good at that. Anyway, moving on.
This thing was actually falling apart. I don't know really where I want to put it. That'd be nice. Right there. Perfect. Okay.
So like I said, there's 3 main parts in this book, So the first part is, this is who I am. The second part is, this is what I have. And the third part is, this is what matters to me. Oh, my little pearls are... So yeah, this is the process of making art. I talk to myself. I know I'm not the only person that talks to themselves. The theme for this piece, I don't know, I want to call it shopping spree. I really just want to call it shopping spree. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know where I want to put this, but we're gonna just kind of throw it there. Then I have this, right? Okay, so long story short, this came from a guy who's no longer in my life, and the purse broke, y'all. That was a sign, right? Anyway, so it's from Aldo Shoes, and I do like Aldo. But this part, you know, it broke, and I'm sure I could just fix it, but I just love the color, y'all. I love, like, it just reminds me so much of Lisa Frank. I'm not really sure why, but it does. It's just speaking to me. I kind of want to add it to this piece. What do you think? Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But part one is one of my favorite parts out of the book, simply because she talks about being satisfied with where you are and with what you already have. So if you're a mom, you're like me, you're super busy, and your kid comes up and they're like, oh, you know, I just want to, can you look at this picture I drew? Carlin likes to draw pictures of Venom. We're big Marvel fans. You know, he'll come over and be like, can you look at this picture I drew? And I'm like, oh, I gotta do laundry, I gotta clean, I got this, you know, phone call I gotta be on, this conference I have to be on, I'm creating this lesson plan, newsletter thing. No, I don't have time. This section really helped me to live in the moment and to really cherish these moments. Because when, and even with your husband, when, you know, you're too busy to wait, you know, to stop 2 minutes of what you're doing and to just pay attention to them, and you know that it'll be something quick. You know that it'll be something quick. It tells them that what you're doing right now is more important than them. And I just didn't realize that until I read that section and how she explained it. So now, you know, we'll be watching cartoons, and I'm more so watching him watching the cartoons, hearing him laugh. And we like to watch old ones like Hey Arnold and Angry Beavers. I like to just watch him, notice how his laugh is different now than his laugh when he was a toddler, and just seeing how he is now, and imagining how he'll be in the future and how God will use him. I'm very thankful for this section because I believe that it's made me a better mother, or put me on the road to becoming a better mom. So along with talking about being satisfied with what you have, she also touches on life balance. I feel like so many women, not just moms, not just wives, want to know the secret to balancing life. So she definitely spends a good amount of time on that, and I'm so thankful for it. So if you were raised like me, you're probably told many different times that, hey, you know, it's not about you anymore, it's about your kid, your child comes first. And I think that's horrible. Hear me out. Yes, I might feed my kid before me, but if I don't take care of myself, how am I going to be able to take care of my child? And I learned this back in 2019 when I was just so focused on everything else, I forgot to take care of myself, and it hit me really hard to the point where I was forced to take off 5 days from work and 5 days from adulting, 5 days from being a mom, and I had to get alone with God. The Holy Spirit gave me a strategy on how, so that this wouldn't happen again. So I encourage you, even if you're not a mom, even if you're not a wife, you're just a woman, you're just a person, that you have to, you know, make time for those priorities and those obligations, but make sure you're making time for yourself as well. I set aside 15 hours a week for me time. This is whatever I want to do, nothing that I have to do. And I know when I haven't had my me time, because I get cranky. I turn into that toddler that's sleepy and doesn't want to go to sleep. You're cranky, you're crying, you're lashing out at people. And I feel like that's when the enemy really attacks us, is when when we're irritable, when we're tired, when we are not filled with the Holy Spirit. I mean, not filled with the Holy Spirit, but when we're not refueled by God, when we haven't taken that time to just sit with him. That's when he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just throw a little extra in your bucket, because, yeah, okay, let that marinate. You know you want to cuss her out. Go ahead. You know you want to. It's so important to take that time to get refueled. Think about your car. Your car, you know, in order for it to run, it has to have gas. We don't even need to talk about gas prices. It is what it is. Lord, I thank you for just working that out. But it's not going to run without gas. You can't run if you haven't refueled yourself or refilled yourself. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Anyway, you get the picture, right? This is just me talking about part one of the book. and the first subsection, which has, again, like 4 other subsections. It's a lot, but something that she does encourage her readers is don't just read this book like it's just some book you want to read in a weekend. Treat it like a study guide. Read it, let it marinate, come back to it. And I will tell you, I definitely agree with this. So some other things that she discussed in part 1 is role reversal. Oh, I love this. It's about being feminine in a post-feminist world. I think I said that correctly. And it talks about, being the woman God created you to be and being in your role as the woman in the house, as the mother, as the wife, and that it's okay. It doesn't fit in. It may not fit in with culture norms, but who has God called you to be as his wife, as their mother? I'm just saying, there is so much revelation in this book, and y'all, we are only in the first part. I get so excited talking about this. Okay, let's move on, because I really want this to be a short video, and I'm hoping, y'all, that it's not going to be too long. Just to take it back, I love this section on being feminine. It makes me feel good about wanting to be submissive to my husband, wanting him to lead, and wanting to be his helper. I like cleaning. I like taking care of people. So this section is just perfect if you're already feeling, if you want more clarity on your role as a woman, as a biblical woman. Wonderful section. But I can't stay in part 1, so we're gonna move on. But moving on to part 2. Sorry, my family is awake. You might hear randomness. Just embrace it, y'all. Embrace it. So there are 5 sections in part 2. You can see this list right here of all the sections, so you can get an idea of what this one is about. I would say it dives in deeper into the topics that were discussed in part 1. It dives a little deeper into being satisfied with what you have and finding success in that. She also dives in a little bit more into finding life balance. So if you kind of feel like your life is a little chaotic, this section is for you. Especially if you want to live for God and you just don't really know how to go about doing that, letting God's priorities be your priorities in your life. She definitely goes into that. So in part 2, she also breaks down the gift of listening. Ooh, if you love to talk, you have an issue with listening, here you go. Just go ahead and read part 2. If you don't read anything else, read part 2 first, then go back and read the other sections. I love it because she focuses on us being better listeners, giving your time to others, and really focusing on them and what's in front of you. But of course, you can't talk about listening without talking about talking. So she does also talk about, the gift, I would say the gift of gab, speaking life and the power of the tongue and how God can use it. So if you talk a lot, part 2 is just for you. And make sure you read section 2. Part 2 is called My Blessing, or section 2 is called My Blessing. I don't know. Here's the list, guys. If you have an issue with forgiving others, there it is. My forgiveness, right there. Section 3. Part 2. I'm telling y'all, this book covers so much. It really should be called a manual for women instead of resolutions for women. But at the end of each section, whatever, I'm gonna stop saying subsections because the word's just getting on my nerves. But She has like a resolution that you can speak. I would even say switch it around and make those resolutions prayers of affirmation. Speak them over yourself. She has those at the end of each section and subsection. It really is. It's like a manual for women. It's super easy. I think I mentioned this earlier. Definitely an easy Bible study book to do with a girls group or a small group. I think possibly the most important section in part 2 is the last one. It's called My Integrity. Honestly, I had a hard time trying to explain this to myself, why I really like this section, why it's so important. But I'll just read you the description. It says, a resolution to live with the highest standards of virtue and purity. I think that's enough said. Just read it. Okay, moving on to part 3. So part 3 is titled What Matters to Me. So this part of the book, I definitely think it's for those of you who are married or desire husbands. Definitely, if you're engaged, read it. Just skip to part 3 and then go back to part 1 and 2. And if you have children or want children or you're pregnant, read this section, read this part first. So you can see the titles of all the sections. It's pretty self-explanatory. Part 1 is about fulfilling your husband. I would say maybe you got married and a godly marriage wasn't explained to you before you got married. It's a great section for you. I think it really provides a realistic look on marriage. It's really good for single women too. I think it just kind of bursts your bubbles, you know, because we're over here like, oh, I can't wait to be married. It's gonna be cloud 9 and this section's like, she actually discussed a conversation that she has, and she says, this is about 5 weeks before her wedding. I'm talking about Priscilla. She says to Priscilla, would you still love him if he never changed, if he was the exact same man that he is now, if he didn't get better, if he didn't evolve? Would you still love him? And I'm paraphrasing, but she talks about how it took her off this cloud. I think she said like the intention was to kind of, you know, plant her, you know, on solid ground. Like, okay, yeah, you're about to get married. It's gonna be awesome, but hey, this is reality. let me just let you in on this little secret about what marriage is. So very good section. And it's not just, you know, this is what marriage is, not all this cracked up to be, but it's what God, the purpose of marriage. So yeah, great section. In that first section, she goes also into speaking life into your marriage and speaking life into your husband, building him up. All right, so we got some more of our, what was this, tool? I feel like that sounds right. I might be a little correct. So you experts out there, correct me if I'm wrong. A little bit more. I got this from a wedding garage. It wasn't I guess it was a wedding garage sale or a wedding flea market. Oh my goodness. So many different materials. So many different materials. definitely if you have a hard time with speaking positivity with someone, or definitely for people in a relationship right now who find themselves being really critical of their significant others or their children, this is perfect for you. You know, like for me, the way that my grandparents raised my mom, and the way that my grandparents spoke to my mom and how she spoke to me, I can find myself sometimes speaking to my child that way, and I don't want to continue a generational curse of just speaking critically. So if you deal with like a critical spirit, yeah, it's perfect for you. So other parts in part 3 talk about loving your children the way that God intended you to, and why God placed you in their lives, not necessarily the other way around. I think a lot of the times we hear, of course, you know, it's in the Bible that children are a blessing from God and that we're blessed with them, but they are actually blessed with us. God placed us in their lives so that we could filter out all the crap that the world is trying to feed into their spirits. I think and that's in the second section of part 3. She also talks about the soul shaper. It's probably my favorite section, maybe in the whole book. Maybe. I love this because she explains how it goes beyond I'm waking up, making lunch, doing laundry, cleaning the house, and sending them off to school. As a mother, it's about letting God use you. Even once they grow up, how can you use me in their lives, in my grown children's lives? I definitely feel like this section is for anyone who's dealing with empty nest syndrome, or your kids are in high school, they don't really want to hang out with you anymore. This is perfect for you if you're trying to figure out, you know, where do I stand? How can I be used in this time of their lives, Lord? This section also, I think, breaks down motherhood. Like I said, beyond just making lunches and sending them off to school, but it breaks it down in like the spiritual realm of covering them in prayer and worshiping in front of them, you know, pleading the blood over them. It's just, it's so good. Okay. Goal is to not, bless you, friend. Goal is to not burn yourself. Not going to burn ourselves. Hey, I'm filming, friends. Ooh, they're not listening. My child refuses to blow his nose. Are there any other parents out there that have kids that don't want to blow their nose? They just want to sniff all day. Wait, that sounds bad. There's 2 more sections in part 3. It's about living with grace and about leaving a godly legacy. If you have an issue with nagging your children, nagging anyone, and you fuss at them all the time and you blow things out of proportion, that section is for you. And this is in the section about leaving a godly legacy. She says, things aren't gained by shrewd investing, but by simply living. Gifts aren't reserved for major holidays or dress events, but they're given out on Tuesdays and Saturday mornings in your sweatpants without a lot of fanfare or fireworks. It's every moment. I would say it's living on purpose. Every moment, every action that you make, you're living a legacy, or you're leaving a legacy already. And I'm currently learning that I've been a people pleaser, but I need to do what God has placed in my heart. And I used to think, you know, if I didn't look a certain way that people wouldn't accept me. I know that sounds silly for some people, but I did. And so because I looked a certain way, it would keep me from doing what God called me to do, going places where I really felt like He wanted me to go, or bless people in a certain way.
Yes, okay, friends. Maybe, no. Yes, no, yes. No, what do you guys think? Yes, no. I kind of like that. I'm gonna just leave it there and think about it. How about that? I have some other stuff I want to add to this.
Basically, I think this is a great section for anyone who is just scared to do what God has called you to do, maybe because, you know, you have all these fears that are holding you back, or you feel like you have to do so much of this over here before you can really work on leaving a legacy. No, you don't. This section is for you. That's all the time I have. My phone's about to die. I'm losing memory, all this crazy stuff. You can buy this book on Amazon. I will send you the link below, and I will put pictures on my pages of the finished product. God, I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. And I'm sorry that I ended up rushing it at the end. Bye.